Okay, so let's actually start here. What I often tell people when we're first talking about clay is that the best way I often hear people sort of slotting it into their minds of the many tools you were talking about, Anthony, is it's kind of like a pre or like a CRM plus tool. The whole goal of CRMs, like your HubSpot and your Salesforce, is to keep, manage, and track all of this really important, rich information about the people that you're talking to so that you can manage that relationship in a more effective way. I think human beings are built to like manage and understand connections and relationships around 100 to 150 intimate people. But when we're doing sales or marketing type work, we're managing relationships with thousands, if not tens of thousands of people, and trying to jump into the context at each moment is cognitively impossible. Now, what's really hard about the CRM side of that as well, though, is that maintaining and keeping all of that data up to date with the pace at which people move and change and sort of quit, upgrade, promote different jobs is practically impossible. So there's all these other data tools that people have built or founded. You have your like Zoom infos, you have your Cognisms, your Hunters, and then people data labs. I could go on and on about the dozens of other data providers who specialize truly only in what is someone's email, what is their phone number, what's their address, what is all the information I need to know about that person at the moment that I'm looking to engage in restarting, adding to, or creating a relationship with them. And so I think because of the evolution of those CRM technologies and sort of data provider technologies in a disjoint way, people have a lot of things in a CRM. They're taking things out of the CRM, enriching them with data providers, bringing it back, trying to do it all over again to increase coverage or accuracy, because nobody, I think, can actually cover all the data in the world perfectly. And it ends up with people having, for lack of a better word, absolute garbage CRMs with data that's duplicated, messy, missing, etc. So the origination of clay was really to solve that problem. It was the idea that if we think two heads or three heads are better than one, aren't two data providers, three data providers also all better than one? So what we do at the core is we have a bunch of integrations with all of the best data providers in different regions and areas for all of the most important data points. You can see sort of the 75 plus different integrations that we have here. And then you can see the many, 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 many data points that you can just get out of the box from all those providers here. And that doesn't even include all of the providers that sort of add more richness and flavor to your data. That think about Anthropic, think about OpenAI, these large AI LLM tools that let you transform, clean, munge, reshape that data in interesting ways. And then there's also all the connections to once I get that data, I can send it back to my CRM. I can send it back to an email sequencer, maybe a LinkedIn automation tool, you sort of name it. So I give all that context before I go into the demo because I think it's important to slot in where this fits in the process of doing outreach to people. And then the other thing that I'll often tell people is I think we're trying to build software that makes SDR and BDR's lives a lot easier and more fun. But often the irony or the twist in that process is that I have seen Clay be most successfully used by RevOps and growth ops teams, not by sales teams. Because I think the actual mentality is that right now, SDRs and BDRs are hired to do sales work. The unfortunate reality of the world that we live in today is that 80% of that job is not a sales job. It is a data job. And that's all of this work trying to update and keep your relationships fresh. I imagine a world in which that sales role is actually 80, 90% sales, 10, 20% data. The reason people like RevOps and growth ops often succeed with using Clay to enable those SDRs is because those people have jobs that are 80 to 90% data related. And so those people, I think, are much more naturally suited to and I think appropriate to use the tool because you don't need a team of 90, 100 BDRs using Clay. You need like 1 to 3 really top-notch people who can automate that work for the 90 and 100 people.
Yeah, and I just want to add, because I can validate a lot of this too. So my background is all RevOps, eclectic background of some go-to-market roles before, but fell into RevOps relatively early. And this is the hardest part of the job. So I think a lot of people think like, oh, you have Salesforce, you have Zoom info, Zoom info is going to give you all the data you'll ever need, and you just connect it one to one. It's like beautiful thing. Not even close. Like there are so many other data sources that you need to pull in data from, especially if you want to do something relevant with like really good intent signals, or you're in a market that has a really specialized ICP. Pulling all this data manually, scrubbing it, cleaning it in the background is like the type of RevOps work we've had to do so much. And at LeanScale, this is the type of work we are hired to do all the time as well. So we know exactly how messy it can get. And I think you're right. Imagine you have a team of 10 SDRs. You have to not only train them to do the sales side, which is very difficult. Especially these are typically entry-level people, so you have to be able to, train them on all kinds of things. But then you have to train them on how to manage all these tools, which some RevOps professionals have a tough time managing.
Yeah.
I think it's it's setting them up for failure quite often, and that's why a lot of people are like, oh, well, we don't see the value in our SDR teams. They're not producing what we expected them to. It's good, yeah, because you have them doing 3 different jobs at an entry-level position.
And only one of them they were hired for.
Right. So I just love the mission because I know the job is hard enough as is, and if something like Clay can make it easier for an SDR, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, you described it perfectly, Anthony. Like that is part of what makes me so excited to work on this tool here. Like I think imagining a world in which people get to do more of the work that they want to do is super exciting. And like tools for creative growth was sort of the original mission of the company, and I still think we remain very true to that even today. So I think to Anthony's point, what I'll do here is a quick demo. Clay can, I'm sure you can imagine, do many, many, many things. What I will demo is sort of, I think, something that clearly highlights some of the pains that we're solving for. So we're just going to fill out this quick form. And actually, I'm going to use Anthony as an example. So Anthony, it's Enrico.
Yep.
And then, oh, sorry, this is actually asking me for them in separate ways. I built this for a reason this way. Anthony, Enrico. You currently work at LeanScale.
Yep.
Capital S. And that's all I need to fill out here. So imagine this is a form for any company website indicating interest in a product. And I can tell you, think about like OpenAI, think about Anthropic, think about the interest forms you might be able to fill out on those websites. What those types of companies have happening behind the scenes on a form like this today might still shock people, because this data goes directly sometimes into a CRM, sometimes it goes through a Zapier if they're more, advanced in RevOps, and then it goes to a CRM after enriching a little bit. And then some companies have email sent, some companies just have BDRs and SDRs dedicated to monitoring new lists in the CRM. But there are literal teams of humans trying to monitor form responses like this, because the most important thing you can do with these types of form responses is be very quick on the uptake for the most valuable people filling out the form. I think the research shows that if you respond in like a somewhat personalized way in the first 3 minutes after this form is filled out, that significantly increases your chances of actually booking, qualifying, and moving down the process of a deal that could be generated. Now, there's a couple of problems there. The vast majority of people filling out this kind of a form, especially let's say it's enterprise, like in this case here, probably not qualified. So you don't want your reps going and actually trying to personalize email follow-ups to every single person filling out this form. What you need your reps to do is go through this form and say, okay, based on the company size, based on the person who's actually filling out the form, whether it's the director of RevOps or just a BDR or an AE, based on the industry the company works in, based on revenue of the company, we probably have a different estimation of how good a fit that company might be for the thing that we're trying to actually give. And so in this case, you need them to first go through, do all that research on a row by row basis, which is time consuming, manual, and frankly boring. Then they need to filter all of the people down to just the ones that actually need a personalized follow-up. Then they need to go find the information to personalize that message in some way. So probably go look at bare minimum at the company website, at the company mission, see who, in like our case, the company sells to, and at least say something, again, bare minimum of like, hey, so glad you're interested in Clay. I love what this company is doing. I'm excited to help you hopefully figure out if we can help you reach more people in your ICP. That would be I consider it like elementary personalization. That's not even advanced personalization. But that takes time and it takes effort to do. I have yet to meet anyone at any company doing this inbound process with less, more, one person or less, and at the speed to lead time that they want. Because everything I just described takes time, effort, and is not the most intellectually stimulating or rewarding work.